Alex, that's a fortnight gone, believe it or not, a fortnight. And sadly,
how did that happen?
I'm still here. Where's my pub lunch? That's the only reason I do this, is for that legendary burger after we've not recorded. We've had a real lucky run of it actually recently. We've had great weather, okay company, and a good lunch. Average company. Yeah, so it's been a really good run of it, and suddenly things just sort of undone a little bit for us this week. I got super busy with my video. I know you've been busy with yours, plus realities outside of YouTube take a grip sometimes as well, and life just runs away from us, eh?
That's right. We were due bad weather, right? And
now I'll tell you what, this is for all those bloody idiots that moaned about it being hot. Oh, it's too hot. It's 30 degrees.
Yeah.
It's a summertime. Yeah, exactly. Now we've got 16 degrees and rain. Thank goodness Wimbledon's got a roof. The test matches we got to worry about, but
that was awesome yesterday, by the way.
Yesterday was, I know, and the 3 test matches as well. Maybe we should start a sports podcast.
I love talking about sports. Yeah. So when tech is low, we can revert to sports.
Yep, I think that'd be the backup plan. I'll talk to you about that later. We'll have to come up with a snappy name for it. So once again, I think there's a fair bit to rattle through and talk about. Even though it's summer, there's stuff going on. We're going to talk about iOS 17, and I haven't ever used a beta, but we'll come to that in just a minute. Of course, this week has been if there's any road noise, by the way, it's because when I was doing my live stream this week, for some inexplicable reason, my camera cut out after 55 minutes. Same mains adapter as before, so I've got windows open to try and keep it cool as I can in here. The downside is we might have school kids that are leaving school and a few cars, but apart from that, we're all good. Yes, of course, this week has been an interesting one for me, because when I was with you time before last, I think you said, look, I've got this Pixel here, take it away and see what you think of it. Now, me being me, A, I'm a boring sod. B, I don't like change that much. And C, I'm an absolute Apple fanboy. So I just kind of left it in its box and thought, nah, what am I going to find out with this? How good can this be? I've got a 14 Pro, a £1,700, 1 terabyte of storage, 14 Pro. What am I going to learn? Thanks, Alex, for nothing kind of thing. So then I thought, this is silly. It's sitting here. So when I got a SIM card, because I didn't have the nuts to take my main SIM card out, lose all the messages and iMessage on that for the family and stuff. Got a SIM card, and slowly I thought, oh crap, this is actually
I remember
really good.
Being in that situation as well. I mean, I used to work with people in the tech industry, and whenever someone showed their Pixel, even from the first one, they were like, oh my gosh, the Pixel is amazing, the pictures are great. And it kept going on and on and on. And for years, I was like, that it can't be, right? And it was only until last year I tried the Pixel 6 Pro for the first time. Again, like yourself, I had, to be fair, experienced other Android phones before that, but I was really, really impressed. And in fact, I've used it a lot. The Pixel 6 Pro, granted, more than the 7 Pro, because the 7 Pro, I gave it to you because I was not using it. So maybe, may as well get some content out of it, right? But the 6 Pro and the 7 Pro, they're both excellent phones. And for me is the Tensor chip that the Google are using now, and the AI features in it, like speech to text.
That is stunning.
It's almost like magic, isn't it? It's just incredible.
Well, yeah, I showed that on the video that's just gone up when I was just holding the phone in front of me and just talking, and word for word. And, I even used Djokovic's name because I thought that's fairly unusual, and it was perfect.
It will make the odd mistake. But for someone who, as you can probably tell, right, with a dodgy accent, it's incredible how he works out what I'm trying to say.
I was going to say your accent as opposed to my BBC accent, but I thought perhaps mentioning the BBC this week isn't a good idea.
Let's not get demonetized. Let's not get demonetized before we get even monetized.
Yeah, we're one step ahead of being monetized. We're demonetizing and ruling out all chances of it. But no, I mean, I know you mentioned to me, because apart from watching your video,
I don't want any of your pictures, by the way. Trying to
the scary thing was when you joined me on this on Riverside, I didn't get a ring or anything, so I could have been sitting here doing anything, and it just suddenly popped up. And it's like, oh, Alex is with me. Thankfully, always decent, always good. But yeah, when the last time I used a non-Apple phone was a BlackBerry. And I think that's going back to late 90s, possibly early 2000s. Yeah. Since then, I've been iPhone all the way.
I miss BlackBerries, to be honest. I do miss it. They're amazing.
It was obviously the first thing was email, wasn't it? Email on the go. It's like, whoa, we have come of age. We can suddenly...
That thing that using the thumb on the side.
Of course.
With the wheel. It was incredible. It was, at the time,
and
very innovative.
For the longest while, my daughter was probably about the same age as your son is now. She wouldn't use anything but BlackBerry. That was it. She was sold on BlackBerry. I mean, now, of course, she's an iPhone. And in fact, she's not far behind me in the Apple ecosystem. It's her birthday, her 25th birthday next weekend. So I've just bought her a pair of AirPods Max, my second pair in a year. And I'm not monetized. Things are not looking good for me.
Yeah.
And
ruining the next generation as well.
Well, my biggest worry was as a dad, and you'll get this, was, Jesus, am I just putting a target on her head? Because you're kind of like putting a 500 quid sitting target on somebody's head. But now in London, I've been in London an awful lot recently. And to be honest, they really turned a corner. And they're being used pretty much everywhere now.
Yeah.
You see them so much. So I know there's possibly a new pair coming out this year with maybe some tweaks on. But I thought even though there's a possibility of some new ones coming out, I need a birthday present. So
yeah, I mean, my first reaction when I saw those was, "There's no way I'm going to wear that in public." And it took a while to be brave and do it. And yeah, I've done it on the tube and things like that on the train, and they sound amazing, right? So why not?
They do, yeah, they do. And obviously, if you are out with the over the ear, the noise cancelling is even better, isn't it? I mean, it's a pretty much 100%. I'd outside those gardeners the other day, and they were using one of those bloody leaf blowers. And I just could not think to write. So I just put those on. Everything was cut out. Everything was gone. So yeah, they really are a decent bit of kit. So back to the Pixel though, there's I think the thing that stunned me with it was how quick it felt. Now, there's a part of it being the Emperor's new clothes. I'm sure that it was a new kid on the block. But that to one side, I'm kind of long enough in the tooth, I think, to realise it's not just a flash in a pan. And when I just realised how quick everything felt on the phone, and I'm sure when I went to the Play Store, downloading apps seemed quicker for some reason.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? That phone isn't the best performing Android out there. I mean, that's kind of, it is considered as a flagship device, but when you compare, the screen isn't as good as others, even the processor, right? I forgot what it's based on, but it's not really Google's. I mean, they call it the Tensor chip, but it's based on some tech that is not actually on par with Snapdragon, for example.
A Snapdragon's just in Samsung.
No, other Android phones like Xiaomi and other Androids, I think, use that. And Samsung were using up until last year their own Qualcomm. I think they named it Exynos here in Europe and other like Asia as well. But in America, they used a Snapdragon, and it's been. I mean, since the Fold 4, which is when they introduced Snapdragon here in Europe, the performance has been incredible. So if you think the Pixel is fast, the Samsungs right now are just, incredible.
I mean, I'd clearly now after this experience, knowing that the Samsung is the next, it's the S23 and the iPhone Pros, isn't it? They're the two big
should be an interesting head-to-head coming up, right?
Yeah, I mean, somebody was kind enough to say on Twitter, be interesting to see with the Samsung. I kind of said, well, look, if this video performs at all, and if any money comes in for it, I'll willingly throw it back in and I would buy one. Because having tried this now, and it's not that just for content, I'm genuinely interested. The only thing is that I know you have managed to break free of the ecosystem. I'm still so deep into it with everything I do, AirDrop, handoff, iMessage, of course, with my daughter in London and so on, having iMessages. I know that you got Telegram and WhatsApp and so on, but iMessage is super convenient. Yeah.
I honestly think there's I mean, you're never really free from the ecosystem, right? I'm in my 40s and I had an iPhone since the first one. Like you, bought pretty much every Apple product on their catalog. But so it's not so much leaving the ecosystem completely, and I think that's really, really almost impossible to do unless you get rid of all your devices. But it was possible to not have an iPhone and make the S23 Ultra work in a way, right? But the reality is, people say, "How did you change? How did you switch?" You see all these videos about switching. It's like, well, I have an iPhone 13 mini as a burner iPhone, which kind of keeps the ecosystem, my AirTags, my lights at home working. And so there's still an element of course, I could do some of that with the iPad, but the iPhone is there and I don't actually use it. I don't even, if you ask me, where is the iPhone right now, I don't even know.
Is your wife and kid, are they on Samsungs, Android, or iPhones?
My son doesn't have a phone yet. I mean, I think he's going to be 12 next year, and he's probably due one. All his friends have phones, but I don't know. I'll probably give him the Pixel because I just like,
What, you think you're getting this back? Whoops! A sad reflection of your mental well-being.
Yeah, just get lots of B-roll and send it back, please. I do need to do a video on it before the new one comes out.
When did Google do their refresh? It's not a Google I/O they bring their new phones out, is it?
It's. I mean, that one I think was like December, maybe November.
You did your video on it in December, didn't you?
Maybe even January. I don't remember, but it was late. Right. It was late for it wasn't as soon as it came out. I mean, it's always best to do it as soon as it comes out because, we tech creators that don't get stuff for free sent to us. You want to get as quickly as possible. But I think, we had Pete Matheson here and his approach has been actually, it will be what it will be. My review will come out when it's ready and when I've actually tested it properly. And I actually like the idea. You don't always follow that through, but it's a good approach.
I mean, we'll get onto the YouTube side of our pod in just a little bit, but to that point, what I learned this week on this video was, and this isn't, I'm not using it as a vehicle for self-promotion at all, it's not the idea of it, but I just felt this video was probably one of my better ones because I actually took time calmly to get to know it with no pressure. Initially, I didn't even have a thought of making a video. I just thought, okay, well, what's going on with it? And then I got to know it. And then, of course, being an Apple person, I encountered problems and then I had to find ways around those problems. And, I had to get certain software on the Mac to be able to transfer files and think about using Google Drive more because I'm a Dropbox person and iCloud as opposed to Google Drive, all things like that. But you just begin, and even silly things like the do not disturb and the screen recording when I wanted to take, some screen recordings off of it. You just begin to learn your way.
And I think it's really cool to do that because
you made a more real video, I think.
Yeah, because when you review the next iPhone, you will have something else to compare with, right? Rather than comparing with the previous iPhone. So I think it opens up a little bit of your, I don't know, your kind of experience. I mean, I haven't used every Android out there, but I feel that I have a good feel for what's out there and what the good features are on Android versus what's on Apple.
I mean, what surprised me, because I had to do quite a lot of research and background checking, and this has got £150 off at the moment. So it's £750, which is
amazing value.
50% less, over 50% less, because I paid for 1 terabyte on my phone. So that was £1,700. Yeah. And it's not twice as good. It is better, I think, but not twice as good. Certainly not. And now I've sort of begun to look at this other phone idea. The whole range of nothings are interesting me a little bit.
Yeah, they look amazing as well. I mean,
and they're affordable.
With pricing is, we say this in a positive way, but there's also the other side, right? If you look at an Apple phone, an iPhone, the value just holds, and that's probably the counter, right? To say actually Androids get cheaper, and it's harder for you to, if you buy one this year, the resale value will be a lot lower in comparison with an iPhone that will potentially hold its value. There's the software updates. I mean, Android are getting better at that, but you still, I mean, you can run an iPhone 10, right? Still iPhone 8 even, and still get support today. So.
Well, it's funny. I didn't actually write it in today's Apple Views blog, but I saw that one of the stories I nearly wrote about was they're still using iPhone X in the stores for the sales assistants to use as the registers, as the payment terminals, and they're just running out of battery because they're so old. But it shows you that you can. Obviously, they do run for a long time. So I think I saw the Pixel gets 4 years of guaranteed updates. I think.
Yeah, they're getting better, and I think Samsung are now saying 5 years. Of some sort of support. I'm not sure, to be honest, but it's getting better. It's not like Apple. I mean, Apple, those things will run forever. And I only discovered that because I was trying to figure out, is it worth getting an older iPhone just to keep my Apple Watch Ultra, which at the moment I'm not even wearing it. It goes back to, the Apple Watch Ultra will sync with the iPhone 8. So it's like, my gosh, do they still exist?
Yeah.
But it turns out, and they do, and a lot of people still have old phones.
And how are you getting on with that, Garmin?
I love it. I mean, I'm looking at my Apple Watch Ultra completely dead on the side there, just looking very sad. I don't use it. I mean, I love it for sleep tracking and I'm a very competitive person when it comes to, and I compete against myself mostly. But I just find the Garmin, when I go for a run or go to the gym, it kind of pushes you. So right, last time you did this, you're nearly there, kind of thing. It keeps pushing you to beat yourself, and in a way, from your stats perspective. So yeah, I like that aspect, and the battery just goes on and on and on.
It's noticeably better, is it?
Depending on what you're using it for, right? As a smartwatch, the Apple Watch Ultra is amazing. There's not beating that. But as a fitness tracking and health tracking, for me, the Garmin is better. I just in every way. Even when you go to the website application that you can go to, really have a look at your dashboard and the stats. So much data, so much like helpful information, right? I know you can get some of that in the app on the iPad now, I think, as well, right? But no, the Garmin, it was built for that sort of thing.
I think I can honestly say after this week that nothing is ruled out anymore. I mean, I dare say it's going to be a fair time before I move away from being predominantly Apple, but I now can see the futility of saying Apple is best at everything. At least this week's given me it's given me an idea of perspective, I think, as much as anything.
Yeah, I think it makes
good and bad. They've all got good and bad features, right?
Yeah, I think from your viewer's perspective, they will appreciate the fact that you have something else to bring to the table as well. So you actually can compare, two different brands.
Yeah.
That just makes you a better reviewer, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I now, well, of course, we're going to get around to one of our main subjects this week, was something you brought up, with the idea of pivoting, and that will come neatly in just a minute. But before we get there, let's just talk about iOS 17, because you run betas, don't you? You install them.
I do, yeah. If I had an iPhone as my main phone, I'll be running iOS 17. I am running iPadOS 17 though.
Would you run it on your main phone then?
Oh yeah. I mean, maybe not the first one. And I've done that before, and it was a regretful thing, because you can brick your phone and your phone will just restart, with no errors, you just literally just die. But when it gets to beta 2, beta 3, and then public beta, I think those are quite safe to run now.
And again, this is a real novice question I should probably know the answer to. Do you have to apply to be in the beta program, or if I just came off now and wanted to go to the beta, would I find it on my phone somewhere?
From memory, I think you pay something like $99 or something, £99 to be in the
Apple
developer.
Charge you for something?
Yeah, you gotta. I think to get the non-public beta. I think when it gets to now, I think was the public beta. Anyone can download it, but you need to be. You have to at developer.apple.com. You got to go in there and register and create a developer account. Yeah.
So throwing the floor over to you then, how have you been finding it? You say you're running it on your iPad, so if we go there first.
Yeah. I did a video on the first developer beta came out, and I was already like, oh my gosh, this is really, really polished now. I mean, is what I was expecting iPadOS 16 to be fair. And I had a rant about that last year. But now, credit where it's due, right? The widgets are more functional. They really are kind of really snazzy, really, when you use it and you go, oh, wow, and I can see some of the apps already bringing a widget, kind of a clever way of implementing widgets. So things like Reddit, will have like a cat in the widget, and you click on it and you get, it's really smart, and it looks really, it makes the iPad useful even when you're not using it. If you like, you can put it on a stand, and at a glance you can get pretty much all you need to know without opening the iPad. And I really like that. In fact, I wish my Tab S8 Ultra, which I use, up until now, used a lot more. I wish it had something like that, almost like an always-on display aspect to it. The other thing is Stage Manager, which was go on.
No, I've heard that's one of the things that's actually beginning now to make a difference, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
and it's suddenly becoming more usable, because Stage Manager, they kind of iterated to a point where it's useful.
Yeah, it's night and day. It's not just more usable. The previous one wasn't usable for me anyway. Like I said, I did a few rants on this. It's like, come on, Apple. It's almost, to me, it felt like they don't want to make it. We all know how good Apple can be when they really put their minds to it. And say, right, here's an experience that you're going to love, right? We know that. So when I picked up an iPad, you pay, I don't know how much we paid for the iPad Pro, and it's so expensive. And you get this subpar experience. And it's mainly, in my view, because Apple were trying to protect MacBook sales. It's like, no, I want the iPad as well as I don't, Apple fans out there, and Apple, loyal Apple customers. I don't think would care, right? If the iPad was doing some stuff like the MacBook can, they'll still need the iPad for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on that camp. So I do want a tablet because I like the tablet experience, but I want the tablet to be useful. And Stage Manager on iPadOS 16 is just like, what
Is it now?
is this?
So is it more multitasking now? You can actually
use it. Yeah. The windows are resizable just like in Windows.
Yeah.
Funny enough, you can really make it. Not all apps are optimized. Yeah, it looks like some apps are like Instagram, still not quite there yet. But
that's never been good, though,
it's always the one, right? Instagram is always the one, though. It's like everyone uses it, but it's the one that the developers just seem to like.
Looks the
Oh,
worst.
screw it. Don't worry about the iPad. And no one uses it. It's like, no, you'll be awesome on the iPad. Thank you.
Yeah.
But most apps that I've tested, Evernote and things like that, they resize to the way you want it, not the way iPadOS wants it, which was the case in iPadOS 16. You resized it, and then it would re-resize to something random. It's like, no, I don't want that size, and I don't want it there. I want it here. Now you can put it anywhere on the screen. You can shape, and you can really tile them the way you want. And I like that. I really like that. From a multitasking perspective, that's what we wanted for years.
As a slight sidestep from that, have you used Final Cut again since your video on it on the iPad?
No. I think I've used it once again for just for research on iPadOS 17, but not really as a. I haven't tried to edit a video.
Right.
Because my first brick wall, if you like, was there was two: external storage and not being able to share the projects between the Mac and the
Back
iPad.
and forth, yeah.
So those for me are non-starters based on the videos that I produced today. Right, I might use it in future, but right now it's just not for me. I think it's.
And the one of the features I am looking forward to when I get 17 on my phone is that they call it nightstand. Is it the one that?
Yeah, that looks awesome. Yeah.
Have you got it on your phone as well? Did you say on your 13?
No, I haven't got on. To be honest, I don't know what the 13 is yet, but I will install that. Actually, it's here. It's charging.
that looks like it could be a very cool feature, actually.
Yeah.
I think we all have it sitting by the side of the bed, so it might as well be there. And most of the time, you fumble to find what the time is during the middle of the night anyway, so it might as well be there giving you that information anyway.
Exactly. It looks actually, from a design perspective, it looks great. I mean, there was an app before that did that. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of YouTube thumbnails had that app on the iPhone. But yeah, so that's the end of that one.
I've Sherlocked that then, yeah.
Yeah.
That one's gone as well. Sorry, developer, whoever you were that were making that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you had a good run.
But again, it's come on the week when I was looking at the Pixel and just looking ahead to what we're pretty locked in as to what we're getting this year for the 15. And again, it just sounds like there's not going to be, I'm sure we'll all eulogize about it. We'll all rave about it for a week or two. And then the dust will settle and we'll realize we're not that much for, I know there's the argument you could say, well, how much better can they get? Fair enough. But equally, they just need to do something to make it feel and look a bit fresher. I know all the phones are, if you look at what Nothing has done, and I'm not for a moment suggesting Apple would want to go that route or should go that route, but at least they've been bold enough to make something that breaks the glass rectangular brick that we're used to.
Yeah. I think when it comes to the iPhone, I think we're 3 versions already outdated from a design perspective. In my opinion, I think, I love that look, but it's just not comfortable for a long period of time. Or after, if you're doing a game, for example, for an hour, it's uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, those glass edges on this Pixel, the rounded, almost infinity screen that I called it kind of thing, it just seems to go on and on and on. It's so comfortable to hold. I didn't realize how much more ergonomically comfortable that would be to hold. They're really
clever. I think that's probably the most comfortable one to use when you're typing for a long time. The S23 Ultra, the S22 Ultra was horrible too, in my opinion, but the S23 Ultra is a little bit like the Pixel. It's really comfortable to hold. It's almost like a halfway house between having a squared off design and a curved. A lot of people hate the curved screen, but I actually don't mind it. I like it.
I think, well, before maybe I'll get to you next time, but if not, I'm going to go into a store locally and just actually hold, because even when I've been with you, I've never picked up the Samsung. I've never even just picked up and felt it and see what it's like, because I've always been no, I'm Apple all the way. Now I've got this intriguing idea, and I'm suddenly thinking about that Nothing phone, because it's about £500-600, and I'm thinking, that could be an interest, and it looks good. It looks good on video as well.
It looks really good. It looks really functional. There's some compromises on it that I think I'm not sure. I mean, without having it in hand and using it, I can't really comment too much. But from what I've seen online, there's some compromises there. I think the display isn't as high quality as it could have been. The battery isn't as big as it could have been.
It's only got 2 cameras. There's no zoom, is there?
The cameras is the worst for me. It's like, why compromise on something so important these days, right?
That's central to everyone buying a phone, isn't it? The phone, that's probably the first thing people turn to, and after that, the battery life.
Yeah.
But so I guess that's a good point that we should do that little pivot off. And well, I didn't realize how well I phrased that actually, into pivoting on a channel. So when we all get going on this lark, and you've been at it a fraction longer than me, but you started, I think, properly in March of
July 2020.
July 2020, and I started in September 21. So, but been at it a little while. And one of those, you talk about these niches, that YouTube likes to know what you're making so it can get it out to the right people. Then they say you need to break free and you need to broaden. And then they say, no, it's now too diverse. You pivoted too far. So it's this question of, do we get pigeonholed in? And there's a few creators that I can think of, some very successful ones that have made channels and careers out of talking about one brand, be that Apple, be that Samsung. But from an audience point, well, if we look at it from an audience rather than from our point of view, do you think, I see some of the people I watch, I don't just watch them purely because I know I'm going to get a brand. I watch it partly because of that, but more because the way I like they talk about the product they've got in hand. So when you've pivoted, say, because of course you've covered Google, Samsung and Apple phones. I mean, it doesn't seem to have hurt your channels. I saw your stats for last month, and I know you said it was a slower month, but it was still healthy. It was good, steady growth. So what's your view on how samey a channel should be? Or do you think it is a fool's idea to go out and spread your wings a little bit, as long as it's within the same kind of tech space and area?
Yeah, it's a good one, right? And I think it's so kind of hard to answer, because I've tried, to stay in the lane, right? If you like, to kind of just, really focus on something. And I found a lot of success with that. Just kind of, if a video does well, just double down on it and do like 3-4 videos about the same thing. Now you start to see people saying, okay, I've had enough of this now. I like your channel, but you're now regurgitating the same thing again. Not many, but I've started to see that. For example, on the S23 Ultra videos, my last one, I started to have, a handful of comments on like that. So then you say, okay, well, but when I did a video about my gaming PC, for example, I didn't see you commenting that. Great, fresh content, Alex, well done, But on the other hand, there are viewers, like you said, right, that I consider them as, super fans, if you like. They will watch you.
All your content.
They like your content, they like your personality, they like what you bring to the table, whatever you're reviewing. And I think that's my when I'm creating a new video that is going to be a little bit against the grain, I'm thinking about those guys first, because they are my core audience. They're people who, and if they like it, I'm hoping that YouTube will go, all right, well, maybe we can expand that to this new audience over here. In reality, though, that's not what's happened. I mean, in my case anyway, every time I deviate a little bit from the usual smartphone, tablet, Apple's kind of Android sort of lane, it goes, hang on, we don't know who this is for. I mean, and I've tried all sorts of different tactics, right? And it just hasn't worked. Desk setups don't work. And gaming content doesn't work.
And do you think that's our fault, or do you think it's more YouTube's fault for them not doubling down, for them saying, well, hold on, we've been putting out Samsung videos of his, suddenly he's talking a desk tour, where do we put that?
I think it's a bit of both, right? Because if you listen to what YouTube, the YouTube creators, they're always saying, if you want to grow your channel, you do need to go into expand your niche a little bit, go into a different, collaborate, all this stuff that will divert a little bit your content. So it's kind of having multiple buckets of content. So it's like, well, on one hand, you're saying that, but when we do try to create these buckets, you don't really give us a little push, right? And sometimes, I go in some videos they're just like not well performed. So it's like, so I look at it at my own content first before I try to blame someone else, right? And so I've watched some of my videos and go, yeah, I can see why that won't be pushed, because the retention was low, the thumbnail wasn't great. So I can see why some of those videos didn't perform, because I just probably didn't work hard enough to get them to be punchy enough and and engaging enough. But there are videos out there, for example, on gaming stuff that are you get quite critical, right? And look at what other channels are doing around the same subject, and you go, I don't know. I went a little bit above and beyond. And the odd viewer that comes in fresh and go, oh, hang on, I never heard of your channel, and I really enjoyed it. This is fantastic. And I had a few of those in my a gaming monitor that actually did reasonably well.
Which is the only little spur you need. If you can just attract those few new people to you, and they find you and like what you're doing, and okay, they happen to like you talking about a gaming monitor, but who's to say they won't like you talking about a tablet?
Yeah, and that's what I thought. Well, that's a good sign when there's someone completely fresh and stumbles upon your channel. And I'm thinking maybe that's the signal that YouTube needs to see, right? But I don't know. The back of my mind, I'm thinking there needs to be maybe 1,000 of those people for it to be enough of a signal for YouTube to then push it. I don't know. I just think that's an element of YouTube could help us a little bit better when we do deviate to actually say, okay, let's give this guy a proper chance of success here, because he's trying something new, right? It's completely, we can see by the tags, by the title, by the thumbnail, that this is completely not for his current audience.
But it's in the same space.
Yeah. So we don't get those impressions. If our current audience doesn't click on the video, to me, that seems to be too heavy weighted, right? YouTube sees that as the main thing. If your current audience are not clicking, it means the video is shit. And I think, come on, let's give it a chance, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously my figures are nothing to write home about, but it was odd this week. I had and you'll know it. You'll absolutely know what I'm about to say. I had a good feeling about this one when I was putting it together. And you kind of live a week with these videos, don't you? Generally, a week, 10 days. By the time you've shot it, B-rolled it, we know it, every breath, every nuance, every mistake. And it got to last night. I thought there's nothing much more I can do on this now. This is good to let fly. But equally, I was thinking, is it because I've never covered anything other than audio or Apple? Is this going to be even worse for me? Okay, it did tie back to Apple, but obviously the headline was very much Pixel. I just hope that they're reasonable enough to see that it is a comparison and it is very much in the space.
Yeah,
and I'll try putting up posts now on my channel. I know you saw that this morning, just to try and at least for my subscribers.
As a subscriber of your channel, I didn't even know what time you were posting. I know we talked about it yesterday, and I had a feeling. And I opened YouTube to actually search for something, and your video was top left, right? A recommendation.
Right. Okay.
So that's good, and I clicked on it straight away. So that's great, and I watched it. So I think you've done everything you needed to do right now. It's just kind of waiting for YouTube to kind of do its magic. I wouldn't change anything, because what you put out in terms of the thumbnail, the package is exactly what I would have done as well. I actually watched the whole video. There's not much I would have changed.
Wow, you got through 20 minutes of it. That's the other thing I was worried about. And I turn to Alex a lot. We've said this before. We sit alone a lot, and your mind begins to play really weird tricks on you at times. And you'll know it again. It's that thing. I looked at this video and I thought, I don't think I'm repeating myself. I don't think there's endless waffle. I think what I'm saying is kind of on point. And yet it was 20 minutes. And I'm thinking, oh shit, is that going to kind of be too long? Are people going to get bored? But
it's tough, right? Because sometimes you go, is this a in-depth review, that warrants that time, or is this kind of kind of my? So I think that there's an element of, sometimes you do have to kill your darlings, as they say, right? And I've gone through those. Sometimes it's like, I'm putting a video as long as it needs to be, because I want to talk about this point. I think there was about a minute in there where you were kind of. It was probably a shout out to my channel. So I would have completely removed that, but other than that, everything that I've seen, that I would have kept.
Well, I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take that then, because I was worried, and I know Daniel came on. He saw it. I don't know if he's watched the video yet. I think he has, but he certainly said, well, all of my videos tend to be 20 minutes long. And I know there are creators that regularly make very long form content. Daniel's
videos is a good example of videos that are they can't be shorter, because he's going so in depth into each feature. And his retention must be amazing, because they are. I mean, I watch his videos as well, end to end.
Which is, I mean, again, for somebody to come along, and he clearly, with that background, when we had him on, we knew what his background knowledge was with Samsung. He just knows those products because of his background with the company so well. It comes through in his videos, doesn't it? And why should they shorten it down?
Yeah, that channel will blow up. I mean, I told him today. I said it'll be 10K before the summer end, because it's, well, winter in this case in Australia. But yeah, it's just one of those channels that has something unique, something that, I mean, both our channels are fairly similar. We just talk about stuff that we review as regular folk, right? But he brings something quite different, and I think he's definitely got a USP to it, very much so. Yeah.
And it's so you also said something a few moments ago about sort of doubling down, that if you find that you've got a successful bit of content, that you'll make 2-3 videos on it.
Yeah.
Clearly, you've been working hard with the Samsungs. I know when you and I have spoken, when we've finished recording, you said, no, Samsung's always good to me. They're always good, solid videos. They normally perform pretty well. But there does come that point, as you said, where you've got to think, right, okay, time to shake it up now and bring something new, right?
Yeah, and I've got the MacBook Air to work on it. And again, I could have made 3 videos about it now because I had it for over a month. But it's just, it's one of those things, right? When you're trying to build an audience and grow a channel, you always, even now, right? I'm approaching 70,000 subscribers. I'm always still quite conscious of, I know if I put a video of the MacBook here, there will be a few people who will, first of all, they will unsubscribe, because it's like, you've been talking about Samsung, now you're talking about Apple, unsub straight away. Even though you're kind of prepared for it and it happens in every single video, it's still one of those things that plays at the back of your mind. It's going, no, actually, I'm just going to do another 6-month review of the S23 Ultra and play safe, because, playing safe at the moment, the algorithm will go out. Yeah, there's more people clicking on this, and therefore, and I can see in the stats, right? My last S23 Ultra was a off-the-cuff video, which my second video that I never did a script for. And I'm really enjoying that aspect as well, which is like,
because you did that with the iPhone, didn't you? With the iPhone 14, what you're missing kind of, and what you're not liking, and wayful love. Yeah. And I think that's, again, a way of pivoting your, not the content, but the style. And I know you try that as well. It's just to kind of stop, just be yourself in front of the camera and just babble on for 15 minutes and see what's salvageable for a video. Yeah, and I haven't used the prompter now for probably a month, 6 weeks, and the one this week, 20 minutes. The benefit was that I sat and wrote the blog Monday morning. Monday evening, I recorded the A-roll. So all I basically did was went in there and was reading through my blog and think, right, that will make some good points. And then I knew what to say, because I'd only written it a few hours before. So none of that was scripted. In 20 minutes, not a word of that was scripted.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. I have a video about a TV, my second one this week, and I had to contact the sponsor and say, look.
Was that gorgeous thumbnail you had up this week?
Yeah, that was a changed thumbnail as well. I had to change it because it was it's still bad. It's like 3.5% CTR. It's just awful. So yeah, that's not going to go anywhere. But there's a second one. They sent me 2 TVs, and the second TV is actually much better. I was testing last night. I was thinking, oh my gosh, this thing is amazing. But hand in heart, I was like, I know my audience is not going to click on this, and I just can't take 2 turds in a row. Yeah, it doesn't matter how hard I work in this video, right? So I said to the sponsor, look, I want to make this the best possible video, but I need some time. So I just asked for a few more days, and then I'll sandwich it with something that potentially can do a little bit better.
Did they give any deadlines, or when you were agreeing a deal, did you put any deadlines?
I signed a deal which was meant to be tomorrow, the deadline, for the second video. So one was Prime Day, I think it was 11th or 12th. And the second one was tomorrow, and I was like, I could do it, and I've recorded 80% of the footage, and I would be, after this podcast, I would be editing like mad and trying to get this out for tomorrow. But I think, mentally, I'm like, I know this is going to take, and I just couldn't physically face it. So like, can we please postpone it for a few more days so I can try and give it the best shot?
It's funny because the last time I was with you, you were just posting a video. You just literally doing if you remember, I walked in, had a coffee, and you were just doing the last few moments of posting a video. So I watched you do it. We recorded the podcast, you came off, and I think you already had about 2,000 views.
Yeah. I knew straight away, I knew that video would do well because thumbnail was good, title was good. It was controversial enough to say people, my current audience who are interested in, and I saw the stats afterwards. A few days later, YouTube does this new cool thing as well in analytics. It says how many people came back for your videos.
Yeah.
And that video, pretty much, the initial views were all people who are returning viewers, and that's amazing. That's what we want.
42 views.
And I don't know. I mean, it's
there you go. 42 views in what, 2 hours. So,
but what is that normally?
It's better than, I think. I think when I last looked, it was running at a 5 out of 10. I mean, I laugh. It's running at a 4 out of 10. I mean, I laugh at myself. I'm so shit at
4
this.
4 out of 10. That's not bad, right?
I've got a feeling none of my videos ever do well quickly. I've gained a few subs out of it, I think 2 or 3 subs. None of my videos have ever done well quickly. So I tend to do this whole idea of letting it go through the rinse cycle. I know when you and I chatting again, you said, no, good time for this phone. India market's a really good one to try and get the time zones right.
For Android, usually, yeah. Yeah, I always post a bit earlier to catch.
So I'm thinking, give it a 24-hour rinse cycle. Let it go around the clock, around the world. You know, we've got Australia, we've got Asia, we get the UK, Europe. And then I'll see. And also, I tend not to put it out onto Twitter or anything now until I've let that first cycle of 24 go round and just to see what YouTube does with it.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. I mean, I only promote videos usually when they're really, really not performing. So when you see me posting a video that with a link and everything, it's because I need a click. I need someone to go in there and I've posted a community tab and whatever. But no, it doesn't matter. If the video is destined to tank, it will tank. So,
it's tough because after this one, and this is again, it's not a mini violin session here. I'm if this one doesn't do reasonably well for me, I don't know what else I've got to give because I've tried as many things as I can, and I love what I'm doing. I love it with a passion. I'm really enjoying it. And if it does do well, I was supposed to be reviewing this Heil PR40 that they sent me through. Good as gold after London podcast show. No pop filter in a way. It's actually a dynamic mic, not a condenser.
I would say don't bother with that.
No, it's not going to do anything, is it?
No, because
it's a short, possibly.
Well, because I think you haven't really. I mean, I think you need to make a call. I think at one point, do you want to talk about audio stuff or Apple stuff? Because the two are so separate. Mm-hmm. So if you want to talk about audio stuff, like Tom Buck style channel, right? His channel is audio first, and he does do cameras and other things every now and then. But most of his core videos are. But
it's almost a separate channel kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So I would maybe kind of have a think about the strategy for your content, because there's a lot of iPhone stuff coming up. It's iPhone season. I would say focus 100% on that, because that's the stuff that you enjoy talking about. Is the stuff that you use personally a lot
now more than ever. Yeah.
So I think even if the Pixel video blows up, that's good to have that in the back pocket. But I'd say. Start thinking about Apple content. I wouldn't spend time on microphones because, let's face it, it's not really
it's hard to talk about, isn't it? There's not a lot you can really make. I think it's
not searchable. It's not searchable. And when you're growing, I mean, in my opinion, right, when you're trying to grow a channel, you need to rely a lot on search. And
again, SEO in the background of your videos. I know you actually pay quite a lot of attention to that. Not so much with the tags, you're quite a moderate tagger, but with the SEO and sort of data scraping, I know in your descriptions you make sure to get the right words in there, and certainly with the idea of scripts now, you're big behind the idea of subtitles.
Oh yeah. It was a lot easier doing subtitles. Well, it is a lot easier to do subtitles when you script, because that's the subtitles.
Yeah.
But when you free rolling, you then have to export the text and then. But I'd say there's a few tricks, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure if they help, but I've followed this, and I think a lot of people do. In your first sentence should include the title almost, not word for word, but should contain, what you're talking about in the first sentence or two. And then, I mean, sometimes you sound repetitive, but a lot of people skip the videos anyway, right? No one really watches 100% of your video. Apart, I watched yours today, but your normal viewers will be skipping here and there. So repeating the product name and, doing that if you do timestamps, including that in your timestamps, I think all help, because there's all data that's being indexed somewhere, right, for search.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, I think the first time I noticed this, which is, I think I screenshotted it, I almost made a frame of it. It was like, I go in as an anonymous search, turn on my VPN from a different country and just search for S21 Ultra. And, there was that time when I think my videos were doing better than Marquez's video. I
remember you telling me that, yeah.
And all the timestamps were showing. I mean, it clearly helps, and I saw in the statistics as well that a lot of the views were coming from Google search. So,
which is
SEO is really important. Whether I'm doing it right or wrong, I don't know, but
Yeah, and what you just said about sort of trying to get that first line delivered with something very close to the title, that all comes back to this whole point of, even if you haven't got the thumbnail and title physically made before you start recording, I think it's a very good idea to have it in your mind. Because when you record, as you say, I think it is really important to try and hook those things in together right near the beginning, isn't it?
And something I've just, that it goes beyond that. It goes into the visuals as well, because a lot of people are now hovering over the thumbnail. So the thumbnail is becoming less important almost. And I saw, I think it was Jimmy actually talking about this, Mr. Beast, talking about this Colin Samir recent podcast. Yeah,
that was a long podcast. That was about 2.5 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, I watched it. I mean, there's so many nuggets in there. But one of the things that I really thought, why didn't I think of that? Like the first few seconds, and I think he showed that with his boat videos, like the $1 boat to a 1 billion boat or something. People are not even worrying about the thumbnail because they're hovering over and the video auto plays.
Yeah.
So those first 15 seconds now are basically your thumbnail. So make sure there's subtitles, like not subtitles, but captions, big words, big transitions, and
and
show the product. So I almost stopped doing. I never really did an intro like the fancy intros, but I used to enjoy doing like a 15 second of music and the product in like B-roll shots. I've been playing around with not doing that because I'm thinking, what is it going to be showing when they hover? So they probably want to see that there's someone talking about it. They don't want to just see quick shots of a product, but they want to see some of the product. So I try to be punchy in those lines as well, and put like big yellow letters at the beginning, so that when they hover, they go, I'm so intrigued by what he's saying here at the beginning that I've got to click on it.
So even if they're looking at it on a scrub, they can see the words coming up saying Samsung sucks or whatever, and they think, okay, this is clearly about that. You show the product and you're pulling them in. Yeah,
exactly. And it's something that I've only just practiced in my last two videos. If you hover over them, you see that
I'll do that.
He went for a bit of a more impact in there. Whether it's working or not, I don't know. Those videos did well, but but
your videos have certainly got a look to them. And funny enough, even when I was scrubbing through the final export before putting it up, and I came to the bit where I'd screenshotted one of your videos, it's that text you use. There's a very particular, clearly a style of text you use, a font, but also just the size of placement is very Alex, which is a good thing because it means that I would immediately know that. Immediately, I'd know that was your video just through the font
that's
that you
good,
used.
Because I'm trying to stay consistent because for about 150 videos, I was every video trying something completely different. And I don't know if, I learned a lot in that process, but I don't know if that's good for the channel.
Same. I've used the same font now on my thumbnails for about the last 4 or 5, and I'll continue it. And again, you can get to, with my graphic design background, you can get really anal about fonts. But at the end of the day, you just need something that's really legible. It's not about being a clever font. It needs to be a nice square sans serif font.
There's a guy, completely different niche. He's a vlogger, but he's doing this thing like, he gets a penny and he travels around the world with a penny. I don't know if you've seen this.
No, I haven't.
Ryan, someone is an Irish surname, but he's an American.
Kid. I'll search. So Ryan Penny, I'll find it.
The Penny series. He's done a few. In the latest one, he actually came to Europe. He was in London for a couple of days. He went to Amsterdam. But what he's saying, because I watched a podcast with him as well, and he's very intentional in keeping the font as simple, easy to read as possible. And when you look at it, it goes, that looks so like handmade almost. It's so raw, and it's intentional. And he's saying that it kind of gets people to be a little bit more friendlier with the content.
Yep.
And I think that's a very clever way of doing things. And he's awkward in front of the camera. He's very he's not outgoing as a personality. But he lets that all in, and it's amazing, really. It's very captivating stuff.
I'll go and check him out. But the font thing is something I've really settled down on now. I try to use the same font on the videos as well. So the only bits of text you see on this recent video, all the same as on the thumbnail. And I'm using this time, it's called Bonnie, and it's just got a nice extension. You've got some bold italics, metallics, and black. You've got, so you've got all the different weights of font you'll need. And it's just, but it's a really lovely, clean, it's contemporary, but it's a lovely, clean font.
Get creative with that. If you go into Creative Cloud fonts, right? And you just look at that,
exactly.
Oh my gosh, it's so
that's
amazing.
My font. Yeah, I know.
So that's dangerous. So I just picked what Apple uses. I think I just used Apple.
And also, ninja tip, and I know you've given me enough of them. The color that I've been using, for instance, on the color on this particular font, I used Adobe's color wheel charts.
Okay.
And they've got trends in there for fashion, for comic design, and so on. You can either make your own up, or because you know what it's like, you think, I want something that's orange, but you can never find a really good RGB or a hex color that's quite hitting it. You go into the Adobe color chart wheel, and you just go in there, and there's all these different catalogs of colors, and it's just wonderful. And you can just find and copy and paste the hex code straight in, and it gives you some really sharp edge colors. You know, some really on point colors.
It's the trouble that we go through, right? Sometimes I just go white most of the time, and if I choose yellow, is the one that appears in a little square. It's that yellow. There's only one yellow.
I sent you the first draft of that thumbnail, I suppose, about mid-evening. Then it was about, I don't know, 11:30 midnight when I sent you. This is what it is, and I was still working on it then, but I knew that was going to be the thumb for this one. But it's again, I sort of parked it, I'd rest it. I was watching Hijack, and then I came back. Yeah, well, I was watching Hijack last night, and I thought, no, I can do better. And even through watching Idris Elba on Hijack, I was thinking about my thumbnail and thinking I can actually make that better. So I just had that little time away from it. But I talk about Hijack. Have you watched this week's yet?
Yeah, I've watched it as soon as it came out. Yeah, gosh, yeah, I'm hooked.
Isn't it good? And we're left with the demands now, so we're going to find out what the hijackers want for their demands.
Yes.
And they've got his home address as well.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Sorry. Yeah, but we don't know what's happening. All we know they've got his home address. But
yeah.
Okay, mate. Well, I think we're sort of about done on this one, aren't we?
Oh, it's a shame. I was enjoying that.
We can carry on before my camera overheats. No, it's all good. It's actually fairly cool in here. I don't know what it was the other day. I got to 50-something minutes on my live stream, and I just got that white shutter come down. I heard the click, and I thought, I've done nothing different. Nothing different at all. I mean, it seems fine. And before you and I, I've gone on for like an hour and 20. I've never had any problems at all. But it's always
sometimes, right? I mean, I've had my Sony die on. I think when you were here, one of my Sonys died like 40 minutes in. So.
May I just say, your editing on our last podcast, that multicam.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no,
beautiful. We haven't mentioned that.
Yeah, it's easy when we record like multiple cameras. Final Cut Pro is like, you know.
Next time I come, I'll bring a Canon as well. So we'll have. And you mentioned Amazon Prime. I mean, for the first time this year, I actually got into it. So my daughter's AirPods Max, I nearly got a renewed ones. I thought, no, I can't do.
Oh, nice.
They can't be on somebody else's head first. So I did buy new, but I got 50 quid off on those.
Okay.
And I've learned that when you're doing these channels, you can never have too many tripods.
Yeah.
So, and I've also learned quality tripods really matter. At the start, I thought, well, it's 3 legs that hold a camera up. What can it possibly be the different? But you learn.
Yeah.
And I've got this affinity with newer now. They give me some stuff, not much. So I've got another newer tripod, but I managed to get 60 quid off that on Amazon Prime Day. And it's just arrived now. And it's got a whole beautiful pivoted head. So if I want to do pan up and down, lateral shots, I can do that smoothly. And it means that also I've got this exact replica of, I've already got this tripod, but it's set up for my main A-roll shots. And I've learned that where possible, if you cannot move that tripod, it saves a huge amount of time.
Yeah. I hate tripods, to be honest. But it's one of those things you need it. Yeah. And when you go out as well to take it, especially when you're by yourself, right? If you're someone else and you get someone to film for you, great. But if you're by yourself, a good tripod is a must. And being light and.
Yeah, I've got carbon fiber one now, but it's got all the different pivots on the head. It's got quick release plates. It's just it's made for purpose. And as I say, now I've got that one in my podcast, in my main studio, set at exactly the right position. I just don't want to touch that. I kept having to move it to do other B-roll shots because I've got two tripods that I use for the slider, one tripod that I use to put the iPhone on to get the cutaway shots. Obviously, the main one. And I think there's one other. So, but I'm still out of tripods because I needed something for the B-roll shots. I thought, this is another 200 quid, but there you go.
Crazy.
There you go.
Crazy. I hate those things, but yes.
So you said you're going to be busy editing. What was the video on? What are you working on?
Well, I got to finish the video, which got postponed to early next week. And then it's going to be actually not even editing. It's going to be recording first. The MacBook Air, something about that.
Right, yep.
I want to do a proper video on it, but I think for this weekend, it's just going to be a quick first impressions because I have now been using it quite a bit and have some thoughts.
Any spoilers? How are you finding it?
Yeah, I mean, have
you still got your 13?
Yeah, it's a similar story to the 13 when it comes to the model I went for. So that's what I'm going to focus on, which is the 16 gig, but 256 SSD. Despite all the noise that people make online, I mean, there's a couple of channels that really annoy me on.
I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
it's like, don't buy the 256, and like, it's fine.
Yeah, it does everything.
It's fine.
So you've been enjoying what you've seen of it so far. You've been enjoying using it, yeah?
Yeah, everything's great. I mean, I'm tempted to put Sonoma on it as well, but I've done that on the 13. No issues so far. But I think on this one, I'll keep it vanilla.
So will this sort of quick video this weekend, will that be one of your relaxed Alex on the sofa late at night?
Yeah, I'm literally recording after this. Yeah. It's going to be a few bullet points. Yeah.
I really like that. When I watch your iPhone, it just felt, I don't know, you get that feeling when you're just almost at home with somebody and you're just sitting there having a chat. That video, the way you styled that video, that had to me.
Yeah, that was the intention. I think for me, it's hard to come up with a structure, because as long as I can come up with a story that says, okay, this is how I'm going to go about this. It's great. So talking about 5 things I like and dislike was easy, because there's no need really for a story. But on the MacBook, there's some structure that I need to work out first in my head, and maybe just 5 bullet points, and then just chat about it.
Yeah. And have you got, so you'll be shooting like a full video on that in the next week or so, will you?
Oh, it'll be today, and then and then I want to do one like I did last year, almost like a day in the life as a student or as a graphic designer or something.
Yeah. So again, coming back to a point we were speaking of early on, then with that in mind, do you already have a clue of what you're going to title it and what the thumbnail could possibly be before you start shooting?
Yeah. I mean, it's the Starlight one. I think it's just going to be holding it. I think just me holding. Because they did well last year, so why change, right?
So you could tie that in. For my jazz days, there's a jazz standard called Stella by Starlight. There's the title for you.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
There you go. You can have that one on me. No credit required.
Brilliant. Yeah. It's a beautiful machine. I mean, I wouldn't buy it having the 13 as a user. I wouldn't need it. But I think if you're buying it first, without having a MacBook Air, it's fantastic.
The other thing I have thought of buying, which would fit in perfectly into my channel, is I've never run properly an iPad. So that's something else I've got in the back of my mind.
Gosh, have you got an iPad?
I've got my dear old mum's old iPad mini. That's the only iPad I've got.
Oh
I've never
gosh.
an iPad proper.
Yeah, I mean, iPad mini, it's Patrick.
It's a few years back. But
I'm very tempted to get an iPad mini because it's a content magnet.
Yeah.
So if you've got one, definitely talk about it.
So I'm thinking about getting that and sort of, because again, I could sort of record myself going into my dear friends at Battersea, buying it, picking it up, the whole thing, and even just sitting outside by the river there and kind of setting up on Wi-Fi. And
iPads is one of those, for me, it's been hit and miss. But a lot of channels grew on it because it's a very popular device.
Mate, I can't miss. So but it's another idea. But
I think sticking with Apple, right? I mean, iPad is almost like an easy target. I would definitely go there.
Yeah, so I might wait to see what happens at the conference. If anything, I don't think we're expecting any new iPads to come out, but we're so near to it now. I think I'll have to be tapping up Marcus again to get some renders of the iPhone.
What about the 14-inch iPad? Is that not happening?
I haven't heard anything about that at all.
Yeah,
nothing
at all. Research.
And something that made me smile this morning, we were all wincing with Apple's new product category, of course, Apple Vision, and how much it's going to cost. Do you realise the next category that they release could be $100,000 plus? If the Apple car, the Titan Project, they've just started hiring more test drivers again. Okay. Their equivalent of DVLC in California, something I wrote about on today's Apple Views blog, they have to list on there how many vehicles they've got doing autonomous driving on the streets and how many, and register the names of the test drivers. And they've now, I think, gone back up to 152 test drivers. Not they've admitted that there is a car coming, but I just thought, and again, it's been roughly 10 years in the making, similar to Apple Vision. And I was just thinking, we're all moaning about $3,500. The next one could be $100,000.
Yeah, it's a tricky industry as well. I mean, when I was working at Dyson, they were just finishing off closing it because they gave up on it. They were about to build a Dyson car. Imagine that.
What did you actually do at Dyson? I know we spoke before that you worked at Dyson. What did you do there?
Yeah, I was on IT, almost like an IT consultant. I was there for just over a year, as an IT architect. Boring stuff, but I wasn't one of the engineers there. But yeah, it was a fantastic place to work. It was 10 minutes away from here, so it's a nice.
Sleepy old Gloucestershire. Is that where head office is in?
Yeah, a place called Malmesbury. I mean,
I've heard of that. Yeah.
It's 10 minutes from the studio here. You walk in there. It's a very inspiring workplace. I mean, they've got, remember the Concorde? Mm-hmm. So you walk in the main office area. So by my desk, you look left, and there's the engine of the Concorde.
Oh,
next
wow.
And you go to the cafe, and there's like a hanging like aeroplane, like a fighter jet hanging from the ceiling. Another one outside, like I think there's a Vulcan outside. Incredible place, and all the history, right? From the first one, and he's always present. I mean, James is always around.
Oh, so you haven't met him then? You come across him?
Not never spoke to him or anything, but yeah, he's always there. You can always see him.
So very much hands-on.
Yeah.
Because I went to the McLaren Tech Centre about, I suppose, a decade ago now. And that, again, was a deeply inspiring place. And I remember the overriding feeling, it's in Woking.
Yeah.
And the overriding feeling when I came out of their environs was, oh my God, the outside world is dirty. Yeah. It was just so, I can't describe to you the level of cleanliness. And everything was so pristine.
That's one place I'd love to go visit. Because they've got like a full-size statue of Ayrton Senna.
Yes.
In gold, in bronze, I think.
Yeah.
I bought the mini one from the same artist because at that time, it was like, I remember him going there and sharing that with McLaren. It's like, oh my gosh, what a place.
There was all sorts of stories. I know we've gone slightly off topic, but it's kind of vaguely in the same sphere. Yeah. There was the guy, the day I went there, Jensen Button was doing the tour for us. Nice. And the stories that he was coming out with, the marble tiles that were naturally imported by Ron Dennis from Italy could not be cut. So the square footage of the factory had to exactly match complete tiles.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
The ambient lighting in the factory goes up with the daylight. So people inside never know if it's day, night. They just, because that affects their work, their focus. If you think it's getting dark, it's near to home time.
Right.
The cafeteria, all of the air is ducted out into that pond outside to make sure there's no food distraction smells coming in. I mean, the attention to detail is just unbelievable. And the one thing they wouldn't let us into, we could only see from the outside, was the live rig. I went there just before the Spa weekend, and they had the exact chassis that Jensen would be running that weekend on 4 jigs. And it was exactly in real time replicating what was going on at Spa. It was just amazing from a tech point of view.
Yeah.
The way I got into it, I became a member, McLaren member, and you just go into a draw. So I think you just pay to become a McLaren member for the year. And part of the benefits of that, you go into a draw to get into the tech centre.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Notes for Father's Day next year. I'll be in touch with your boy. I know what you should be getting. I know what you should be getting. No more gadgets. What he needs is to get into the tech centre.
Get him a go-kart or something.
Cool, man. Well, you've got to go and make some content about a MacBook Air.
Yeah. Good luck
I'll
to me.
need to get busy editing on the podcast. It looks like I'll be doing that this time. And we'll be back together. Well, we don't have to be together or together via this or whatever, but we'll be back with you in 2 weeks' time.
We'll figure it out.
For another podcast.
Come on.
My man, pleasure as ever. Now, I know you've got to go and record, but tell me you're going to have Wimbledon on in the background.
I'm definitely going to have it,
Hold on. I'm just going to have a look. Do you want me to tell you what because funny enough, I've got the Wimbledon app on your phone, but not on my phone.
No, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Because I'm going to start from...
The first semi is still going on.
Okay, good.
That's all I'll tell you.
I'll put it on. All right. Cheers, mate.
Right, enjoy your afternoon, mate. Thanks for your time.
Take it easy. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.